This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Police are tonight continuing the hunt for evidence at a Southern Midlands property as they investigate the disappearance of Risdon Vale man Dwayne Davies. Detectives believe he was murdered and continue to hold two people in custody.
The third day of searching at this rural property at Elderslie. Investigations continuing into the disappearance of 47-year-old Dwayne Davies.
We're very confident that Mr Davies has been at the hands of foul play.
Forensics have concluded their search of a Risdon Vale home, and as detectives try to piece together their case and find the victim's body, his wife posted to Facebook that she appreciates the overwhelming phone calls and messages from supporters.
Well, they're extremely upset at the moment, as you would well be. So.
Police are expecting to continue examinations here at the site through the night and potentially into tomorrow.
There's a lot of items, and they are biological and physical items as well. There's still a lot of exhibits and parts to this that we have to process. So, and you've got to understand that those things take time.
Investigators are continuing to appeal for witnesses who cited these two vehicles on Friday or Saturday in the wider area. Information can be provided to Crime Stoppers anonymously. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
A Launceston printing company has pleaded not guilty to a workplace safety charge. Representatives from Woolston Printing appearing in the Launceston Magistrates Court this afternoon. The company is accused of failing to comply with its health and safety duty after a 43-year-old man sustained fatal injuries at its Western Junction site in late 2014. The matter will now go to a hearing in November. The company faces up to a $1.5 million fine if it's found guilty. A Tasmanian charity runner has been given a second chance by a judge as he was sentenced for a Hobart waterfront assault. Earlier this year, Braden Hayes ran from Hobart to Burnie in his undies after losing a bet and raised thousands of dollars for charity. His service to the community was taken into consideration as he was handed a suspended jail sentence today.
The very public face of a charity effort facing cameras for a different reason today.
How do you feel about the sentence that you were given?
No comment, sorry.
Braden Hayes declining to comment on his assault conviction after sentencing. He pleaded guilty over last July's incident. Hayes was at the Observatory Bar on Hobart's waterfront with his girlfriend. Justice Tennant said a group pushed past and his girlfriend fell down the stairs. Later that night, he confronted a man who he believed was involved. He headbutted and punched the man. Hayes gained prominence when he lost a bet on cricket. He honoured his promise to run from Hobart to Burnie just in his underwear. The run was used to raise thousands of dollars for charity. Today, the court heard Burnie's mayor gave Hayes a positive character reference, praising his charity run. Justice Tennant said this, along with Hayes' absence of a criminal record, would be taken into account. The charity runner was sentenced to 6 months jail, suspended on the condition he doesn't commit a violent offence or is jailed for any other crime in the next 2 years. Justice Tennant told Hayes, "You've been given a second chance." Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
An unusual suspension occurred in Tasmanian Parliament today following a mental health slur by the Greens leader towards the Speaker of the House. Cassie O'Connor was banned for the entire day due to the insult as debate erupted over the government's controversial forestry legislation.
First, there was a warning.
Order! 21. I warned the House, coming dangerously close to the House being shut down.
But it didn't take long for the Speaker to adjourn the House just 36 minutes into question time.
The House stands.
A mental health jeer from Greens leader Cassie O'Connor just moments later, prompting a rare suspension for the entire day.
Upon my leaving the chamber, she said she's a lunatic. I considered that to be one of the most serious reflections on the Speaker there can be.
We're all in there because we want to make a difference, and sometimes we get quite passionate about that, and it gets us into trouble occasionally.
Miss O'Connor narrowly avoided a 7-day suspension, but it was a combined effort of lower house members that prompted the Speaker's exit. The government's controversial forestry bill sparking the debate as the legislation fronts the upper house this evening.
If that legislation is knocked back, we will do exactly what we said we'd do. We'll be seeking a fresh mandate to unlock the forests.
We'll be campaigning on issues like health and education. Clearly they don't want to do that. What we do know with the forestry legislation is that it's not supported by the industry and it's not supported by the environmental movement.
On the same day, the Hodgman government's releasing a climate inaction plan. They're threatening to take Tasmania to the polls over their plan to log carbon-rich forests. The irony of that won't be lost on anyone.
Known as Climate 21, the action plan was tabled in Parliament today with a target of zero emissions in Tasmania by 2050. A report card will be delivered on its progress each year. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania's Education Minister has launched an investigation into claims of inappropriate public school debt collection after it was raised in Parliament today. It's understood some parents have been sent to debt collectors for overdue fees, while others have been threatened with the exclusion of their children from school activities. The Minister admits he received anecdotal evidence of the issue last week.
If I got anecdotal evidence that we were actually, sending debt collection notices to parents, I'd have acted immediately to make sure that I knew what was going on and stopped it.
The Minister has made it perfectly clear that his dissatisfaction with this, he's asked for advice on the matter, but he has made it perfectly clear that he would expect that no children would be denied access to these sorts of activities that would normally be expected.
The exclusion of students for unpaid school fees is contrary to government policy. It could still be weeks before a report reviewing last year's Tasmanian floods is publicly released. The document was handed to the state government today after months of investigations. More than 50 submissions on how the floods were handled were received, and the review board conducted numerous interviews. The government says it will now closely consider all elements of the independent report and will release it in full as soon as possible. The review cost $400,000. The boss of Murray Goulburn is being urged to visit Tasmania and meet workers who will soon lose their jobs. The Australian Workers' Union at the Edith Creek plant today, a month after the company announced it will close the site by the end of the year. Workers are pushing for a redundancy payout, the same as their mainland counterparts. Due to different employment contracts, unions claim Tasmanian workers are currently worse off. The closure will cost 120 people their jobs. 4 people have been treated for smoke inhalation after a boat fire at Hayward's Marine at Margate. On arrival, fire crews found the $18 million 70-foot vessel engulfed in smoke, using breathing apparatus to extinguish the fire. The extent of the damage and the cause is yet to be determined. Meanwhile, police are calling for witnesses after a house fire in Glenorchy was deemed deliberately lit. The blaze in Tolosa Street started just after 4 p.m. yesterday. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. A drop in house prices in Hobart is being brushed off as a market correction. Property values slid 1% in the last quarter, with the median price at $350,000, according to the latest data from CoreLogic. But the Real Estate Institute of Tasmania says new listings are still receiving strong interest from buyers.
Time on market at the moment is between 7 and 14 days. So somebody's looking at selling, you generally can get a price right, listed right, or will sell within that 14 days.
The REIT says growth is slightly slower elsewhere in the state, although it expects sales to increase thanks to the extension of the First Home Builders Grant.
The challenge for the real estate industry at the moment is listing property. If they list it, they can sell it, but defining the listings is a challenge.
The report also found Hobart is the country's most affordable city, while also having the highest rental yield for houses and units. Aldermen and staff from the Hobart City Council have spent the afternoon speaking to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as part of National Reconciliation Week. It comes after Lord Mayor Sue Hickey was criticised for questioning if the new Macquarie Point development would be guilt-ridden in reference to its Indigenous theme. But today, all sides were working together as discussions covered Aboriginal Tasmanian history, Mabo and land rights legislation.
If we don't get land rights legislation through the Parliament or through national land rights legislation, we have no way of reclaiming any of our land. Most of that land, of course, can't be claimed because it's now in private ownership.
National Reconciliation Week wraps up on Saturday. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed higher with strong gains from healthcare and utilities, offsetting losses from retail giant Wesfarmers, the banks, miners and energy companies. The ASX 200 index has risen by 13.5 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.03 US cents and 104.73 New Zealand cents.
Lauderdale coach Darren Winter has fired a warning shot at North Launceston ahead of this weekend's clash at UTAS Stadium. He says his team is ready for the Northern Bombers' physical style on and off the ball, and the round one thumping is unlikely to be repeated.
The Northern Bombers were flying a little lower last week after going down to Clarence and will be keen to atone the loss against the Southern Bombers on Saturday. Their round one clash was a spiteful affair, with Lauderdale going down by 10 goals, and the hosts are expecting more of the same this week.
They're going to be pretty physical, I reckon. They're obviously playing pretty good footy, won 5 in a row, so yeah, they're going to be fired up, especially against us. We've got a little bit of a rivalry building, so yeah, the first 10-15 minutes is going to be pretty hot.
Darren Winter insists his side won't be intimidated and is ready for North Launceston to play the man.
Hope they do, because they've got 10 guys that have played 8 games or less in their team. It'd be very dangerous, I reckon, with a more mature team that they'll probably face this time around.
Meanwhile, Glenorchy coach Aaron Cornelius says his team has lacked effort in its string of losses against quality opposition. The Magpies will have their chance to steady the ship against an informed Demons at KG5 on Saturday night.
The way we started the season, I think a few of our guys thought it was going to roll on, and I think that we've been a little bit disrespectful over the last couple of weeks on who we've played and what we think may have happened as a group, not only a team.
Hobart City go into the match fit and refreshed after a week off, but the assistant coach insists they're far from favourites.
We haven't done anything yet. You see the last few results of us against Glenorchy. We've been pretty ordinary and they've put us to the sword, so we need to respond this week, and it's a great challenge. It's a challenge that we need.
Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
Well, the stakes are high in this weekend's NPL Northern Derby. Lino Shuley will return to his old home ground as coach of Northern Rangers, while Launceston City needs a win to keep its season alive.
It's been a challenging campaign for Launceston City and Northern Rangers. City sits bottom of the table. The Rangers only recently snapped a 3-game losing streak.
We obviously don't have the imports and that some of the other teams have.
If there's a time to get back on track, it's this weekend. The sides face off in the second leg of the Challenge Cup after Rangers got up 2-1 the first time around. Plus, it will be Lino Shuley's first game back at Buckby Land Rover Park since switching colours last season.
There's going to be a good turnout, I would imagine, life members, people like that, so the emotion's still going to be high.
For City, this is a watershed clash. Victory will bring the side back into finals contention. A loss will be crushing for the young players.
We'll be looking pretty sharp. We'll be in there firing, ready to go.
Kick-off is 4:30 on Saturday. Meanwhile, in netball, Tash Shirley has declared Arrows will not lose a game this season. The side is in top gear and takes on Cripps tomorrow night. On the other side of the coin, a winless OHA faces Kingston.
We'll have a crack. That's what OHA is about. They do have a crack week in, week out.
Track record is where the confidence comes from, and keep pushing forward.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Good evening. Well, if we had these same temperatures yesterday, they would have been below average. But now we're in winter, these temperatures are above average. 15 for Hobart, Launceston, 13 for Burnie and Devonport, 15 degrees. Feel warm, do you? With it being the first day of winter, those averages have been adjusted. Let's look around the rest of the state. St Helens our top with 16, Ross and Cressy the low overnight with -2, Flinders Island, Friendly Beaches and Campania 15, Low Head, Grove and Strawn 14 today, King Island and Wynyard 13, Lyowini went for a 6 today. A patchy band of high cloud is heading our way with low-level cloud over the southeast of the nation due to a couple of low-pressure systems off the coast, some high cloud over the northeast of the country and to the far southwest. A fair bit of cloud over us today, mostly the west and far south copped it. Tomorrow the high remains dominant over western Victoria, extending a ridge over most of the country. The cold front approaching WA weakens and slips to the south of the Bight, leaving a trough over land. Winds west to northwesterly over the south, increasing to 20 to 30 knots, with west to southwesterlies at 10 to 20 knots over other waters, although lighter and more variable inshore. Strong wind warning for those southern waters between Tasman Island and Low Rocky Point. Partly cloudy for Friday in Hobart, 16 the top, 15 for Huonville, bit of cloud for Campania, 16 the maximum. Launceston, morning fog and frost, but 16 tomorrow. Above average temperatures for Devonport, mostly sunny and 17 degrees and 16 the high for Georgetown with a bit of sunshine. Partly cloudy for Burnie, 16 the top, 14 with a light shower over Strawn. Wynyard partly cloudy and 16. And for the east, mostly fine. St Helens 17 along with Swansea, 15 the top for Port Arthur. Now to the weekend, and on Saturday light showers over the west, otherwise fine with possible morning fog and frost. Partly cloudy for most on Sunday, a shower over the west and northwest and showers developing across most areas on Monday. A possible shower for Perth tomorrow, sunny weather for Adelaide, Brisbane, Alice Springs and Darwin. Partly cloudy conditions for Melbourne and Sydney.